Hi guys, I'm Sao Hadjiva, the regulated Canadian immigration consultant, and today we'll discuss how to prove that you have sufficient funds for your studies in Canada. So strong proof of funds is crucial to increasing your chances of approval. Financial ability of a student is one of the most important factors immigration officers look at when making a decision about your study permit application. And because of that, I'd say the majority of all Canadian study permit refusals happen due to insufficient proof of financial ability. This happens not only because the applicant doesn't have funds, but oftentimes because they are not able to provide proper documents and information to prove this financial ability. Keep in mind that the officer will consider your ability both to cover your tuition and your living expenses for the full duration of your studies. So how much money do you need to show? Like I already mentioned, you need to show sufficient funds to cover both your tuition and your living expenses. Additionally, while the IRCC officially states that you need to show sufficient funds only for your first year of studies, the immigration officers will also assess whether you're able to cover all years of your studies. Also, if you're coming with your family, you will also need to cover their living expenses as well. Now let's talk about your tuition budget. On average, if you're coming to study an undergraduate or postgraduate diploma or certificate, and these are the most popular programs, I'd say, you will spend between 15 to 18,000 Canadian dollars. Master's degrees are usually more expensive, although there are a few master's degree programs that are around the same price point. Bachelor degrees are almost always more expensive, and these usually run at about 20 to 30,000 Canadian dollars. If the final goal is to apply for PR, then I'd say focus on undergraduate and postgraduate diplomas. These are usually priced well and will be sufficient to get to your final goal, permanent residence. If you want to study a bachelor's at some point, you can always study it after you get your PR for much less money as a permanent resident. Now to living expenses. The government guidelines for living expenses are 10,000 Canadian dollars per year for the principal applicant, 4,000 Canadian dollars per year for the spouse, and 3,000 Canadian dollars per year for each dependent child. Keep in mind, this is the very minimum you want to have. That said, you don't want to show the bare minimum. You want to have at least 5 to 10,000 more than the bare minimum to show that you're able to cover any emergency expenses should they arise. Immigration officers want to see that you're able to support yourself in any emergency situations. Also, it's really important to show sufficient funds for both years of studies in Canada for all family members included in your application. So now let's calculate this together. So if the tuition per year is 15,000 Canadian dollars, your total tuition will come to approximately 30,000 for the 2-year program. For living expenses, let's take a family of 4, husband, wife, and 2 children. Total living expenses per year would come to about 20,000 Canadian dollars. For 2 years, it comes to 40,000 Canadian dollars. Now, the total minimum funds will come to 70,000 Canadian dollars. And in this situation, it's best to show no less than 75 to 80,000 Canadian dollars. If you can show more, it's always best. Now, in terms of what documents you need to provide, a lot of people think that if they provide proof of ownership of properties, that would be counted towards your funds. Unfortunately, that's not accurate. The funds have to be available to you immediately. So it's very important that you show certified bank statements with sufficient funds to cover all of your expenses. Now, visa office instructions are different for each particular office. In most cases, though, it's pretty standard. You need to provide certified bank statements for at least 6 months. Now, another important point is to show a very, very stable balance on your bank account. So let's say if it's 80,000 Canadian dollars that you want to show, you want to show that you had $80,000 at the beginning of the 6 month period and at the end of the 6 month period. If you have any significant deposits or withdrawals during this period, you would need to be able to explain these. For example, if you sold a car and deposited a large chunk of money into your account that helped you to get to that desired balance, then you need to also include proof of the sale of the car to show where these funds came from. Now, if someone else is sponsoring you, make sure to include their bank statement and a letter of support from them. Also, showing any proof of their intent, for example, proof of payment of your tuition by your sponsor, would be a good evidence of this. They could also possibly transfer the funds to your account or possibly pay for your GIC or guaranteed investment certificate. Now, there are a couple other documents that can strengthen your case. First of all, it's paying fully for the first year of your studies. This shows that you have sufficient funds to pay for your tuition and that you're genuinely committed to studies. Some schools won't allow you to pay for more than the minimum deposit. In that case, it's a good idea to include the evidence that you tried to pay for the first year of studies. For example, an email from your school stating that unfortunately you can't. Another way to strengthen your application would be purchasing a guaranteed investment certificate or GIC. This does not just work in the student direct stream cases, it also helps in applications not eligible for SDS. GIC can be purchased through any eligible bank on the IRCC list, and I'm going to post the link to that list in the captions. If you have any questions, feel free to post in comments and please follow our channel. Thank you.